Forget everything you think you know about tequila. El Bandido Yankee isn't here to play it safe, and neither is their vice president and GM, Matt Slosek. We're talking rebellion, authenticity, and a spirit so smooth it's criminal. Buckle up. This ride into the world of real tequila is just getting started. On this episode of Tactical Tequila Podcast with your host, Matt Wilson. If you enjoy the show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it to your social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Today's guest is Matt Slosek, the powerhouse GM behind the fastest rising tequila in the industry, El Bandido Yankee. In a world crowded with big brands and bigger promises, El Bandido Yankee broke all the rules and built a spirit so smooth, it's criminal. From bold moves to major milestones, Matt takes us inside the rebel journey of a tequila that's shaking up the industry, one outlaw pour at a time. Get ready for a masterclass on grit, growth, and going against the grain. Matt, welcome to the show.
You're hired. That was done so perfectly. It was like we made you say it. That was very well done.
Well, I wish that was the case, but that's just something that I came up with just to give an amazing intro for you.
I appreciate it. It was great.
So if you don't mind, just kind of go ahead a little bit into your background.
Well, I came into this industry almost by mistake. I went to school to be an actuary, and then I had to call my parents after college and say, oh, by the way, I'm not going to go work for a bank. Instead, I'm going to go work in the alcohol industry. So you can imagine what your parents feel like when a 22-year-old who just drank massive amounts of alcohol in college said, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. But that was 27 years ago, 15 years with Bacardi, which I wouldn't trade for anything. And then followed by 10 years with LVMH, which was quite a learning experience and another experience I would not change for anything. Then I did a quick 2.5-year stop with Casa Comos, which was really my first opportunity to take a brand from liquid to bottle to consumers, which is an experience, again, I wouldn't trade for anything. And then El Bandido Yankee, break out the Bandido, which I have, by the way, I have made myself. I felt like it wasn't right to do the interview without my favorite cocktail, El Bandido Blanco Paloma. No salt, but rocks.
There you go. I'm drinking it perfectly neat today.
What's wrong with that?
What drew you to El Bandido Yankee, and how did that opportunity come about?
When I had parted ways with Casa Comos, the plan was really to sit it out for a little bit. Everyone says when you're not looking for something, that's when you find the right thing. And that's exactly what happened. After driving my entire family crazy in January, mostly being around the house, my friends from Spirited Insiders, which is a great agency for brands looking for an agency, connected me with Jim Bob Morris, and we had drinks in Manhattan. And after drinks, I was invited to a family dinner where I was toasted, welcome to the family. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I haven't joined any families yet. But Jim Bob knew what he was doing. And 48 hours later, I was in the fold, and the rest is kind of history.
And so just from our brief discussion, you've only been with the company roughly around 60 days, correct?
Yep. Started around 60 days ago. It's been pretty amazing 60 days. I will say everything that had been done from launch to this point was done very well. So it wasn't like I felt like I was coming into a true startup where I was saying, well, this is how you track things and this is what reserve bar is. Like these guys and girls already knew. So it's really been coming aboard, tightening some screws, making some structural changes and adding some amazing industry veterans. And now is a good time to find talent. As you can see, everyone's cut back. The big distributors have cut back. The big suppliers have cut back. And we're adding. So like you said at the top, it's good to be a brand that's hot and we're hitting benchmarks. And as we hit benchmarks, we get bigger, we launch more states, and we bring on the right talent. So I'm extremely happy with the talent we've attracted in my 60 days.
And how many states are you in currently?
So currently, we just launched North Dakota and South Dakota, which put us at 16. The Carolinas are not far behind, launching in June. New Jersey launches May, and we're going to make an attempt to launch New York in July. So we'll end the year somewhere between 20 and 22, it looks like.
Okay. Just for those that don't know, can you kind of give a little bit of the story of El Bandido?
So the story is funny because it really depends on who you ask, right? So for those who don't know, Jim Bob Morris, former Green Bay Packer, and he's a very successful businessman on his own right without Bandido Yankee. And Chris Chelios, arguably one of the best American-born hockey players of all time, were out drinking one night. And they were making the rounds, and it got late, and then it got early. Uh, and somewhere, as the story goes, around 3:30 in the morning, Jim Bob said to Chris, "This tequila tastes like shit." Chris was like, "What do you mean we've been drinking it all night? It's 3:30 in the morning." He goes, "Nope, I know my ingredients. I've been a taster of many things, and this is not good tequila." And Chris said, "Why don't we make our own?" Then they started scribbling on napkins. That night, Jim Bob goes home, turns the TV on, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is on. And he had said, "What about El Bandido Yankee as a name?" That's from that movie. And immediately, now it's like a little after 4 in the morning, he texts Chris and said, "That's it. That's the name," and sends him a picture of the napkin he drew on, which was the Bandido. And a new tequila was born.
That's amazing. And as far as like bringing tequilas through to the market, can you kind of walk us through the process of bringing a new tequila to market?
It's a lot harder today than it was 10 years ago. I'll start with that. 10 years ago, there weren't a whole lot of tequilas knocking down doors. Right now, it's a very flooded category. Not only is tequila flooded, but additive-free tequila is becoming flooded, and new products just in general across the board, across all categories, and even beer and RTDs and the CBD drinks. Everything's new. So there's a little new brand fatigue, and there's definitely some tequila fatigue. So the first part is someone's got to sell it for you. We're in a 3-tier system in the United States. So first part is finding a distributor willing to take a chance on the brand, on you as a team. It's become more and more important. Years ago, there weren't many supplier people in the marketplace because the distributor had time to do all the work. Now the big guys just, they keep the lights on, so it's totally understandable. And with the industry being down, a lot of brands struggling, they're putting a lot of pressure on the distributors. So a little guy like us, if we can get in the door, then we really got to do it ourselves. I will quote one of my distributor friends who once said, "If you can get from 0 to 60, we could take you to 60 to 10,000. But if you can't get yourself from 0 to 60, you're at grand opening, grand closing." So that's really our mindset: is we're going to go do this. We're not going to let anyone get in our way. If a distributor partner is a true partner, fantastic. That's what we want. But if they're just fulfilling orders for us, that's fine too. We'll prove it to them until they have to pay attention to us. And in a lot of examples, that's what's happening. People are willing to take a chance. It's a great tequila. It's a good story, but they want to see proof first. And that's what we're doing. We're out there giving them proof.
And in the production phase, can you just kind of walk us through what makes El Bandido Yankee additive free and unique?
I mean, additive free is exactly what it says, right? We don't add flavoring. We don't add any junk. It is as pure as it gets. I was there 2 weeks ago to see it for myself. I believed it, but it's always good to see for yourself. And what we're giving the consumer is just as pure as it gets, and it's exciting for us. We do oxygenate our Blanco and our Repo, which is interesting. I try to explain it to people. It's like it's a little bit like adding training wheels to the tequila. It makes it so smooth that it's criminal. And when you taste that and you taste it and eat like that, and it goes down your throat, you don't get that ooh at all. Like, it is just an experience that a lot of tequilas don't provide. And that's okay too. Some consumers like to taste the tequila. They like the we're all launching a Plata 47, which has a very black pepper finish. I love it. Like, I love that kind of finish. The Blanco and Repo is so smooth. I challenge people to go out there and find people that don't like it. Even non-tequila drinkers taste this, and I've seen it with my own eyes at trade shows and a couple of events we've done. They're like, "Wow, that is really smooth." And then you point to the sign and say, "Yeah, so smooth it's criminal, man. We're already."
Well, and the interesting thing is in most aspects, tequila should not be smooth. It should be bold. It should be robust. But like your slogan says, so it's so smooth that it's criminal. Like it,
It's
I think it defies that law or the integration of that term of tequila being smooth. So I think it's defying that law.
it does a great job of standing up on its own and also in a cocktail, which is very difficult to do. You nailed it. Like a lot of brands are so smooth that when you mix them, they get lost. We don't get lost. We still show up. We just show up in a different kind of way. And you a lot of what you drink is what you mix with anyhow. So if you're using the right mixers and you're using El Bandido Yankee, you're in good shape. Um, we can't control what some of the accounts mix us with. I've seen some pretty interesting ones. Voodoo publishes and some pretty sweet things a lot of the national accounts use. But yeah, I think we show up very good in the cocktail and we show up really great on our own.
What do you think one of the biggest challenges that you've seen with the launch of this brand?
Same thing I touched on earlier. It's just now additive-free is still a good thing. It's under a microscope. Not everyone's watching what you say and cannot say, because some people I think have misused it a little bit. Um, but being that you need to find points of differentiation or you're just one of everybody. I don't have a crystal ball, but right now there's a lot of additive-free tequilas just kind of throwing things at the wall. I feel like they're all going over this after the same consumer. And I think that's a mistake. And we are not, we're additive free, but we're bold and exciting. If you want to pick us up, great. But we're not necessarily going after the consumer that's just looking for additive free tequila. I mean, look at our marketing campaigns. We're involved. Obviously, we have a good amount of people following us because of Chris Chelios, which is great. It's good to have a built-in consumer. But
Mm-hmm.
we have a racing team that's outstanding.
I've
And the
seen
racing
I've seen the boats.
I mean, I can tie about 26% of our volume directly to the racing team between the boats, Flying Ryan and the race car. So, we're just talking. I feel like we're talking to consumers that, and I love these tequilas, but Tequila Ocho is definitely not talking to the same people we are. So I do think it's a bold approach, and this is also a consumer group that's always kind of been classified with Busch Lights and shots of whiskey, and that's just not all true. You go to one of the races and look at our margarita truck. The line's 2 hours long, so it's really finding the right consumers for the brand, and I think we're doing that. I think that's a lot of the early successes. We're not swimming down the same stream everybody else is. We're going upstream a little bit.
That's good. And you had mentioned just a little bit ago about doing a plot of 47. Can you kind of walk us through what that's going to look like and when it's supposed to release?
So it'll be available on shelves in, I think, at least 18 markets by July 1st. Priced a little bit higher than the Reposado. The idea is, okay, so we're doing a lot of marketing things and we're active. It's funny because we're a celebrity brand that's not a celebrity brand at all. We just happen to have been started by two people that people seem to know. I wouldn't
Yeah.
call it a celebrity brand by any stretch of the means. Although both owners are extremely involved in what we do. Uh, but I think we're starting to get recognized. Our ratings are pretty high. You go on Tequila Tastemaker and all the other tequila websites, we're getting a lot of love for what's in the bottle. Forget the marketing campaign, forget Chris and Jim Bob. What's in the bottle is that good. So I think the plot of 47 is a tip of the cap to NOM 1107. Like, let's make something that the tequila nerds, for lack of a better word, will be like, whoa, this is serious. And I tasted it for the first time at the distillery about 2 weeks ago, and it's my immediately was my favorite. Like I said, nice black pepper finish to it. You were drinking at room temperature in the middle of the day, so it was nothing special or prepared. It's really that good. Um, Ask them the same question that you asked me: why this and why now? You're still brand new. You're still finding your way. Is it really time for something else? And I think it was well thought out, and the approach of how we're going to launch it, as you'll see, is also very well thought out.
Well, I can tell you, myself, I'm a high proof or still strength Blanco lover, connoisseur. And that was one of the things that I was thinking about earlier. I'm like, do they have one? When is it coming out? And then I had even jotted the note down, and I wanted to make sure that I asked you about it. But
Nice. I beat
I
you to
I
it.
I for one am looking forward to it.
I was just about to say I'll send you a sample, but right now there's literally about 8 bottles in the entire US, and all the directors are busy tasting everyone with them. But I will have product probably, it's on the truck. So we'll say 3 to 4 weeks and you're top of the list. And I look forward
Perfect.
to getting your feedback too.
Perfect. I would love to. And you kind of going back to the marketing. It was maybe like 6 months ago or so. I was asked to do a video for you guys through Instagram, and it was during the um, campaign that you guys had, Chase Life, Not Tequila. And I was so taken back that you guys had asked me to do one. So I did it and everything. And I was like, wow, this is, one of the most amazing things that I've done.
That's cool. I like hearing that. You're part of the family.
Oh, I love that. And you're part of the Tactical Tequila family now.
I know. I told you pregame. I'm stealing that neon without a doubt. It's gonna maybe
It's
I'll put it
yours.
right behind. Maybe I'll put it right behind me too.
I love it. That would be great. So kind of moving forward, as the VP and GM of El Bandido Yankee, what is your day-to-day role?
I mean, it's going to change and evolve as we change and evolve. Right now, my number one priority is getting the team right. Like I said, we've gotten to where we are with a group of individuals that has fought for every single case. I tell them this all the time. And if you see someone on my team and you ask them, they'll tell you every case we've gotten so far, we have fought for. No one's handed us anything. And they need to know that. Like, these guys are going out there and selling. And when they're selling, they're not selling El Bandido Yankee. They're selling themselves, right? Like, if you're going to take a shot at El Bandido Yankee, you might love Chris, you might love Jim Bob, you might love racing, but the chances are the person in front of you is the person you're taking a chance on. And a lot of companies say the people are the most important, and then a week before Christmas they lay off 125 of them.
Oh,
Here, the people are truly the most important, and that comes from Chris and Jim Bob right off the bat. This brand was built on shaking hands and going into bars that the two of them have visited and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna start my own tequila. You want to give it a chance?" And now those accounts are doing 100, 200, even in a couple of cases over 1,000 cases. So, uh, yeah, I mean, it's it's something to see, because anyone can talk about it and put it on a piece of paper. But when the culture is actually like that, it is something to see. And as we add new people, as I said at the top, that's the number one thing. Okay, can you do the job? A lot of people can probably do the job, but can you do the job and be part of the team and add to the culture? And so far, for me, we're 6 for 6 on our new additions. I'm thrilled.
that's great. And so kind of going into that, how do you balance growth and maintaining the authenticity of the brand and tradition?
I think that's everything. Stay true to what we are. Don't try to be something we're not. And if you do that, and a lot of brands do this very well, and the brands that do it well, people see it. It's about being repetitive and consistent, and we're going to be that. We're not trying to be in too many lanes. And I think, coming from two big companies and then having an opportunity to work at Casa Comos, the one thing I realized, if you try to be something to everybody, you're nothing to everybody, right? Like you have to identify what you are and then go out and identify what consumers are going to be interested in what I am. Not what they want me to be, but what I am. So we're very authentic in that way. And you look at our stuff, and like I said, not too many additive-free tequilas are doing hockey and race car driving. So that's what we are, and we're going to be more things, but we know too many lanes is bad for us, and whatever we do will tie back to the brand DNA.
And so, like, are you guys available internationally, or is it just domestically here in the U.S.?
Without going too far down that rabbit hole, I will say we will be international soon, and it may not be where you think. I'll leave it at that. Next time you have me on, we'll have completed this soiree with this country. It hasn't been easy, but
Okay.
none of the things worth doing are. So we're plugging along. But there's one country that's about 95% there, and I'd say another one about 75% there, and they're probably as excited about us as we are about going outside the U.S. and Mexico.
Can I guess the continent?
I would rather leave it to the viewer's imagination at the moment. But like I
Okay.
said, if you decide to ever have me back on with the neon back there, we'll discuss it, and we'll discuss the process too, because it's been quite a process.
And so, kind of talking about growth and going out internationally, what would you say the biggest operational win or milestone is to date for you?
Well, operationally, at first, we were brought into the U.S. by Package Group, which is famous for bringing G4 to the U.S., which is an amazing product. Also, amazing group of guys. But at some point, and this was before I got here, I felt like the El Bandido Yankee team wanted to grow up and do this on their own. And as you can imagine, every single distributor contract was with packaged goods. So when you break a contract with packaged goods, you are in essence breaking a contract with the distributor. So at that point, I believe we were in 16 states. It's right when I came on too, which was a doozy. And there were 16 states who very well could have said, you know what, we're going to walk away from El Bandido Yankee, and not one of them did. And that was huge for us. Keeping that business as we separated from G4, which, as you know, is a juggernaut right now and just really great tequila. It was risky and right on brand, right? El Bandido Yankee is anything, that's what it is. And we took a risk, and so far it's paid off. And we have a great relationship with the packaged good guys still. But yeah, we want to do this on our own. We want to move out of the house and go to college a few miles away and do this ourselves. And we're doing it. So it was a big step, and I think a big milestone for the company.
That's great. And I actually had Jeff on the show here in the studio. And that was a phenomenal episode. He had brought on in some ricea as well. And that was the first time I had ever tried ricea.
It's always full of surprises.
And I will tell you that ruined me for ricea, because now it's like, okay, do I want to try anymore? Because this was just amazing. And I just don't want to, lose that.
I mean, we owe a lot of what we have to Jeff and those guys. They were here from the beginning. Jeff still consults, and it's great for me. I know he's always a phone call away, and we could talk about anything from tequila to hockey. He's a Vegas Knights guy, and I'm a Bruins guy. So his team is playing and mine's not. That's okay. They also won a Stanley Cup with our old coach, which hurts a little bit. But yeah, those guys have been great, and there's a little bit of a blueprint there as well as to how they went to market and found success. And while our brand is extremely different than theirs, there are parts of their blueprint that work for us as well. So,
well, then that means my team is playing and yours is not as well.
oh no, who's your team?
Vegas Golden Knights.
Well, listen, we like Bruce Cassidy a lot. Wish him nothing but the best, at least here in the Western Conference. So I'm having a hard time not rooting for Florida, to be honest with you, and it's killing me. I was texting with a friend today and I'm like, how do I not, even though they beat us the last 2 years and knocked us out, it's hard not to root for them. They play awesome hockey. They're fun to watch.
They do for sure. And so just kind of moving forward, how do you manage the supply chain pressures and shortages?
Not an issue for us, either. We're at NOM 1107 and those Juan, Eduardo, and Karina are treat us like royalty, and that's not even an understatement. They take very good care of us, so neither is a problem for us. We're if there was anything that we're really trying to figure out what to do with, it's the tariffs. Like will all the tequilas take price increases? If they do, will we take a price increase? I think right now it's a wait and see. I feel like the big guys probably won't, but smaller guys may not have a choice. Who may force their hand a little bit, but we're very comfortable where we are. We're just waiting to see what our competition does.
And so within the marketing and, the community realm of things, what's your approach to educating new consumers about additive-free tequilas?
I think most of the consumers out there don't realize that tequilas have additives, right? And it's a touchy subject now, as we talked about a little bit before, like who can call themselves additive free, who cannot. So we just educate at our events. We're happy to do side by side tastings. I mean, if you think about it, the brand was kind of born from it, with Chris and Jim Bob drinking a tequila I won't mention and saying, wow, this tastes like something funky. But we'll taste next to whoever wants to. And most people with any type of palate can definitely taste the difference. But there are a lot of fantastic, 10 years ago, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. And now there's some fantastic additive free tequilas out there. And I was at a meeting at Specs and waiting and walking down their aisle. I'm thinking to myself, if I'm just a consumer, your average consumer having a house party or just buying a gift for a friend, and I walk down this aisle, how in God's name am I going to pick a tequila? Like, and the funny thing is, just by packaging alone and the names alone, they're all very similar. But also, it's gotten so amazing what's in the bottle. Not just El Bandido Yankee, but most of our competitors too. The old school ones like Herradura and Casadoras are fantastic tequilas, and now all these new ones. Everyone once in a while I'll come across one that's just too sweet for me. I'll be like, yeah, that one doesn't do it for me. But most of the tequilas I try, whether it's for me or not, is very well crafted and just tasty.
So would you say, have you had old school Herradura versus, okay, so what's your favorite, old school or new school?
It's a great question. I'm not sure. I have a ranking in my head of my favorite tequilas, which is a good mix. I would say my number one, without naming it, is besides ours, of course, is rather new school. And then my next two favorites are definitely old school. So, but for me, I don't, when I'm tasting competitors, I don't go so much into the production and that. It's like, what's in the glass? For me, it's like, what is in the glass? If I drink this, will I come back to it? The one brand I will say I've going back to over 20 years now is Casadoras. Casadoras for me definitely deserves a shout out. Like, it's gone through this, it's had ups and downs and it's kind of been all over the place, changed its packaging and some other things. But what's in the bottle for me, from day one, when I first drank it with Bacardi to now, it's definitely one of my favorites. And
And
priced right.
so with the brand, it's fun, it's rebellious. How do you keep that voice consistent across all platforms?
That's an easy one. Our head of marketing is Allie Morris, who is the daughter of Jim Bob and is absolutely amazing at what she does. And she's, I wouldn't say hands on. She allows the sales force to get pretty creative in the markets, but um, you do bring the opportunities to marketing before something's signed off. And I feel like if it doesn't fit with the fearless feel, like unapologetic feel of El Bandido Yankee, it just doesn't fit. So we say pretty consistent, and that's extremely hard to do. And for new brands and old brands, but new brands, every single opportunity that comes your way is like, oh my God, the New England Patriots are talking to us, or the Detroit Tigers. Like, these huge opportunities come your way, and it's extremely hard to say no, right? Like, no, we don't. Years ago, these guys did the Jelly Roll tour. Um, I wish I had been aboard at that point, because I probably would have said that's not the right move, right? But we have found our lane, and I think Allie does a good job with her team of keeping us in our lane. And we don't have a lot of lanes here at El Bandido Yankee, which is also on brand, but we do have a nice list of checkpoints to make sure that everything's on brand. And, same thing, I would challenge you to go out there and find something that's not. Like, we keep it pretty tight.
Well, and the interesting thing is, you mentioned Jelly Roll. He is actually a very big tequila fan. Like, he
Yeah.
loves tequila.
Yep.
So like, I mean, from a consumer standpoint, like, I could see why, you guys would hop on that.
The reality is, if we were in at the time, think about at the time, we're talking at 2 years ago, brand was brand new, couldn't find it anywhere. We were probably in less than 300, 400 accounts in the entire United States. So to get all that visibility and notoriety, and people just couldn't find it, um, felt too difficult. I mean, again, it was way before my time. If he wants to do it now, I would gladly sign up for it. So we're at that point where we're so close. We're on the precipice of like really blowing up. Our numbers are getting better quarter after quarter after quarter. That's something that is definitely down the road for us, but I don't think it's too far down the road. Getting into some bigger things. We already have some great partnerships. We got a new one with the Nashville Sounds minor league baseball team that's just been fantastic for us. So finding the right partners, or letting the right partners find us, is what we're all about.
Well, we need to get you out here to the Aviators ballpark and potentially the A's, or whatever they plan to call the Oakland A's that are moving to Vegas.
That's right.
But I can tell you that the tequila selection at the ballpark is not the best, and having you guys there would be an amazing treat.
All right, let's do it. I'll tell you what, give me that neon, and I'll get some good tequila into the stadium for you. That'll be the trade-off.
Fair enough.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
I'll have it out to you in a couple weeks.
Great.
So, what would you say the most rewarding part of working for the tequila industry has been with you?
I wouldn't say tequila. I think wine and spirits as a total, really. And I mean, the things that we are able to do, when I was younger and not married, didn't have kids, I used to say it was like being a celebrity that no one knows, right? We would go to all the parties that only the celebrities were at. We throw Super Bowl parties. We did a Super Bowl party with Don Perignon one year, and it was before Colin Kaepernick became ostracized. He was pretty popular at the time, and he tried to get into our area, and they wouldn't let him in. And I'm like, wait, did we just kick Colin Kaepernick out of our own party? So it really is the lifestyle. And then as I grew older, I started to realize the amazing history behind some of these brands. I mean, not too many industries can say that there's still brands around. Bacardi 1862. A lot of the champagnes, even older. The Moet story with Napoleon. Like, there's just so many cool stories that we're a bit spoiled in this industry. It's not for everybody. It's not an easy industry. But I would say that would be the thing that's just like, when I look back, when I was 22 and wanted to be an actuary, this was definitely not in the books, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And, touched a little bit on going to Mexico and seeing the process recently. Are there any memorable trips to Mexico that have changed your understanding about tequila?
I don't think there's one trip in particular. I will say my favorite part about going, and I'm going back in June, is seeing different noms and how they operate, because it is just, each one is entirely different from one another and a different experience. I've never had a bad experience, which is also pretty cool. You know, everyone you go into with an open mind. You get to see how they operate. You really get to see everything. Um, you know, how many industries allow you to do that? Like, come into my living room, take a seat, and watch what we do. And I always find it exciting to what my favorite's always the barrel room, because we get into the barrel room, there's always like, you know, certain barrels printed, and this one says Jay-Z on it, and this one says J Bar on it, and you know, everyone's got their own barrel aging in different warehouses. So that definitely wasn't the case 10 years ago either. That's changed a lot. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's one. Just go every time I go, like trying to see something new. I have a hit list for June, so hopefully I can get to at least 2 or 3 of them.
Which ones are you looking to get to?
Well, because of where we're El Viejito, which is also an amazing tequila. So in our neighborhood, we'll say, is Don Julio and Patron, and I've never been to either. Don Julio is definitely on my list. I'm married to someone who sells it, so getting there before her is a little feather in my cap.
Okay.
And you know, Patron changed the industry. I mean, before there, you know, none of this happens if Patron doesn't happen. So I love when people try to knock it. It's like, it's Patron. Like, you don't have to like the way it tastes, but
Yeah.
you don't hate the player, hate the game. Like, it has done amazing things for the tequila category. So going to those 2 this time, and I'm letting our guests pick a third one that's in Tequila, Mexico. So, which is a bit, probably 2 hours away from where we are.
Last year I went probably 5 times to between Tequila and Arandas, and I'll tell you that it was every time was one of the most amazing experiences
Right?
that I ever did, because each time, you know, I went to a couple distilleries that I've already been to here and there, and then there were some that I went to that I'd never been to, and just seeing the process at each one and how it's a little different but the same in
Yeah,
each one. It's all about the community, it's all about the people, it's all about the workers, you know, the heart and soul goes into every bottle. And that's one thing that I love.
really does.
That's, you know, about the tequila industry. It's always about the people that work for them. It's always about the families and, you know, what they can do to, you know, help them as they're helping the brand grow.
Yep. And most of these have been in families for generations, which
Mm-hmm.
is one of my favorite parts. You know, if you walk from someone that's in the family, which most of the time when I go is the case, you know, they're like, "Oh, this is my great grandfather. That's my great great grandfather." It's just crazy how it's been passed down and continues to be successful business.
Agreed. And so, kind of just sliding forward a little bit, you had mentioned in the beginning that you have a El Bandido Paloma.
Yes,
What
I do.
is your what is your go-to way of enjoying El Bandido? Is it in a cocktail? Is it neat? Or
If it's Blanco, the Paloma's been my go-to cocktail for 20 years. Like, I was drinking it long before most people were drinking it. I was never a margarita fan, only because most of the margaritas when I was out at 22 to 25 years old weren't being made correctly. So you're getting just a mouthful of sour mix. So
Mhm.
I just never loved margaritas, but I always liked tequila. So I found, and the funny thing is, I've never, and you wouldn't believe it, but I'm actually 49 years old. I've never, ever in my life had grapefruit juice, not in a Paloma. Never.
So I will
Crazy, right?
I can believe that, only because I've only ever tried grapefruit juice once outside of a cocktail, and I'm just not a fan of it.
But
Um,
that's Polanco for me.
okay.
Now, if I'm going to repo ranch water, without a doubt, with some salt. So at El Viejito, when the tour's done, we have a nice little area with a bar, and we serve food there. Some of the best food I ever had, by the way. But the bartender made a ranch water, handed it to me, and I sat down, and it was a beautiful day. but it went down really fast, like really fast. I was like, that might be the best ranch water I ever had. And I went up to him and I said, what are you doing different? Like, this doesn't taste. And all he does is put a pinch of salt in, like right on the top. And it made all the difference in the world. Like I said, that was like 3 weeks ago. And that is now my drink. The añejo for me doesn't need a thing. If you want to add a dash of water to it, open it up a little bit maybe. But for me, one rock, two rocks, and that's good to go. And I'm still working with the Plata. I feel like the Plata for me will be a good. I got to come up with a good cocktail. That might be a replacement for Blanco in the Paloma.
There you go.
Yeah.
And speaking of El Viejito, I recently just got a bottle of El Viejito, but it was the barrel release from Maddie and Jay Bear.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that it was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw the barrel there when I was there.
And I had Jay Bear on not too long ago. He was in town for a conference, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll do the podcast." So I had him on, and our club president, Tommy Oles. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tommy at all,
Not yet.
but he's well known in the industry, and he's a phenomenal guy. One of my good friends, and I had them both on, and we had actually Jay's Alma de Jaguar single barrel pick.
Delicious.
It's a great tequila for sure.
You could literally line up 20 right across the front and it'd be tough to find one that's not. Like the tequila
Oh yeah.
industry, I mean, the tequila industry's raised its game. Now it's going to be, who is still standing in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And sadly, I think it's almost impossible for everybody to make it. So, have the juice, have a good brand story, and get out there and market it. And, most of these tequilas are doing a good job of that right now too. So there's no finish line. So it's not a race to the finish line. It's just, get your brand in the right spot and get the right consumers drinking it.
And what do you see next for the brand in 2025 and beyond?
So this year is really for us, focus where we're already having success. So we've been very successful in Illinois, somewhat due to Jim Bob and Chris's relationships, but also, the trade partners have been very receiving. We have a nice little triangle going from Madison, Chicago, and Green Bay, where our business in Wisconsin right now is our number 3 state. And in between Illinois and Wisconsin is Florida, where we just have a dynamic team. And we've been driving the business. We do our distributor partner in Florida is Breakthrough, and my team works very well with them. We've done a good job at taking opportunities. We have a pretty good trade partner in Total Wine. Total Wine has allowed us in, and we're showing good velocity there. So it's continuing to get fish where the fish are, so you say, right? Where we're already doing well. But at the same time, we need to do better in Texas. We need to do better in California. We're launching New York and New Jersey. Arizona, I got to take a second here. So Herman, who was our director for Arizona, Colorado, and Nevada, I think he came on just a little bit before I did, maybe December of last year. He has done such a great job that Arizona has already passed last year's number for the year in Q1.
Oh wow.
Honestly, same thing. Amy, Tammy, Blake, Lisa, I think I got them all. The directors are just fantastic. Yeah, I was actually talking to someone that I'd worked with at another stop today, and he said, what do you find the most interesting so far? And I was like, when I saw the structure and saw directors, the first thing I thought to myself is this company is too top heavy. We need people like, look at Lalo. Lalo's done a great job just putting people everywhere. They dominate the marketplace. Almost like they're saying, distributor, get out of the way. We're just going to do this ourselves. And they have been doing it themselves. So we kind of took that and said, well, let's do the same thing. When I saw directors, I'm like, oh, these people are going to sit behind a keyboard and punch numbers. The distributor's going to hate us. We're the small guy. That is absolutely not what my directors do. They are they're leading in the market. They're in the market every day. The amount of wins I get from this team, these 5 people, and soon to be 6, and the leader, the sales leader, Thomasine Joyce, who's been here from the get go. It's just a really strong sales team, which makes my job a lot easier, right? Because I can help Allie and focus on marketing where Allie needs me. We're refining our ops department, which is James Morris, and that's been pretty amazing. And he's leading that team, and it's just coming together all at the right time. While the brand is as you said before, doing pretty well, is it feels like this is a moment in time that we'll all look back at and remember.
Being an additive-free brand, and within the last few years, the additive-free movement has kind of boomed, and as you alluded to before, it's pretty saturated as far as brands saying they're additive-free.
Yeah,
Those that are necessarily confirmed or unconfirmed additive-free, there's a whole slew of things going on with that aspect of
it's a mess.
it is a very big mess. Where do you see the additive free movement headed over the next few years?
Oh, like anything else, I don't think additive free is the end all be all for everybody. If you look at the tequila category, there's quite a few at the top that are confirmed not additive free. And while their business may be declining slightly, they're still very healthy brands. Uh, I have friends that name those brands as their favorites when I ask them, like you asked me. So I think additive free, it's a movement for sure. Um, even myself, I prefer additive free, but I like some tequilas that are not additive free as well. So will they all go additive free? God, I almost hope not. Right? Like it's like someone saying, "Oh, diet soda is better," than all soda goes diet. Like give American consumers are all different. Give everyone a shot at what they want. Um, I will say it seems to be the trend that all new tequilas are certainly additive free. Maybe you want to leave it there. I don't think anyone's trying not to be additive free anymore, but for the guys who aren't, I'm sure their brands are still going to do fantastic. And you know, there's some good ones there. There's some. I always use Ciroc as an example. So I spent 5 years working on Belvedere vodka. Belvedere. I hope to get this way with El Bandido. I haven't been here long enough just yet, but I would see anyone drinking vodka, and I'd be like, "What are you drinking?" If it wasn't Belvedere, I'd be like, "Why aren't you drinking Belvedere?" Like I'd been through so many blind taste tests in those 5 years to know that vodka is supreme to any other vodka by leaps and bounds. Um, but it's not for everybody. Like my friends would be like, "Well, you know what? I like Ciroc because I like Ciroc coconut." Well, Ciroc's not even vodka; it's a grappa, and the bottle even says "made with vodka" on it.
Mm-hmm.
That consumer liked that product, and it did well. There's some vodkas out there that use, the same thing, additives, and they do quite well. And no one's yelling for their business, right? No one's saying, "Well, wait a second, vodka X has additives. Like, why are people drinking that?" So, let people drink what they're going to drink. We're additive free. We're happy to be, and everyone else can be what they want to be.
So, and speaking in vodka, um, what are your thoughts on the newer brand of agave vodka?
I have no thoughts. I know.
Fair enough.
You know, I was raised the right way. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say something at all. So I don't quite understand it. But again, if there's a consumer for it, I would root for that person too. If you can convince someone to drink this and it's a good product, then there's room for it for me. I mean, there's nothing better than disrupting a space. I get excited about it, except for the RTD thing, which is a little less exciting to me. Even listen, I am not a CBD THC guy at all. That's just not my gig, but I'm excited for it. I mean, I've tried a couple and I'm like, if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to go out and be social all night and drink with your buddies, and at the end of the night, you're finally feeling kind of drunk and you want to have one drink or two drinks. And in the first 30 minutes of your night, be there instead of the end of the night for $8, go for it. Like, why
Right.
not? Why not? Yeah, I think I'm a firm believer there's something for everybody, and I do love disrupting the space. Like I go all the way back to I knew the guys at 750.com pretty well when they first started, and they showed me their prototype and what they wanted to do. And like, what do you think of this? And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, oh my God, this disrupts such a space. Like every store you go into has the dusty beverage journal sitting there with the pages folded and things underlined. And it's so like 1980s. And these guys are trying to make everything electric. And the first thing I thought is everyone's going to want to sue you. And the second thing I thought is I hope distributors and suppliers greet you with open arms, because this is the future of the business. And I'd say we're still not even 100% of the way there. But disrupting a space like that is just so exciting. So that was a long answer, but it was a good one.
I agree. No, I agree. And in talking about that, and people asking for your advice on what you thought, what advice would you give to someone trying to break into the premium spirits business or realm?
Come with a budget, and a real budget would be one. Like if you don't have the right funding for it, it's very difficult to stick around. Even good products without the right funding, it's just tough. Second one would be have a plan and stick to it. We've talked about it a few times on this call. If you're not true to the brand and you're like, okay, we're El Bandido Yankee, and all of a sudden we're sponsoring things that just don't make sense, you lose your brand identity and you become nothing. Like you fade away. And lucky enough, between Bacardi and Moët Hennessy, that's 25 years of watching little brands. Funny thing is, I used to go like this: why are they doing it? Like who would go do this? Like, why not work for these amazing companies with these brands that have been around for centuries? And then I did it, and I totally get why people do it. Um, the first time I went into a store with my kids to pick stuff up for a weekend, there was a project, Superbird Tequila, which is owned by Casa Comos, which I was very involved in launching. And my son goes, "Oh my God, Dad, look, it's Superbird." And I thought to myself, you know what? If I don't exist, Bacardi and Moët Hennessy would be just fine. Like, did I do a good job there? I like to think so. But without me, they'd be amazing companies. I'm not sure where Superbird would have been if I didn't exist. So there's something about being involved in these brands and sweat equity, people call it. So that would be two. And the third one is patience. You know, just because you never heard of Tequila Ocho before doesn't mean it's new. It's been around a long time.
Oh
Look
yeah.
at my favorite is Tito's. Like when Tito's first I guess it became heavily popular like right before COVID, I would say, where it just felt like everyone was drinking it. And people are like, you ever heard of this before? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, they sell it in New York. I'm like, yeah, for 10 years now. Like, this isn't new, um, and it's funny too, because when brands like that, people root for those brands all the time. Like, let's root for this guy. His name's Tito Beverage, for Christ's sakes. Like, let's root for this guy to win. And then he wins, and everyone's aiming for Tito. Like, let's take that guy down. It's kind of funny how the brand cycle goes. But of those three things, patience is most important. If you don't have it and you're not willing to ride out the tough times, which could be 20 years, don't do it. Go start a chip company or do a lawn mowing service or something you can control. Like, don't come here, man, because it's really hard to tell consumers. If you get in consumers' faces, they're going to turn the other way. It's really hard to get people to drink what you want.
Now I just kind of want to shift gears, and I want to give you some rapid fire questions.
Wait, do I get a sip before this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's do it.
All right. Blanco Reposado.
Ours or in general?
Both.
Blanco in general. Ours, I like the Repo.
Okay. One word to describe El Bandido Yankee.
Unapologetic.
Love it. Love it. Most memorable agave field visit.
Cazadores, because it was my first, and there was 100 Las Chicas there to greet us, and that was quite an experience.
Okay. Go to late night taco order.
Oh God. Well, late night eating is done for me. I have I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, so late night for me could be 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And boy, oh boy, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm in suburbia, man. If it's not, and also don't knock it, but the Dorito Loco at Taco Bell is something that I'll stand behind. So, why not say the truth? That would be my go-to.
Okay.
You just judged me. I saw you.
No, there was no judgment on my end at all.
Have you had them? Have you had them?
So I'm not much of a Taco Bell fan. Like I used to eat it when I was younger, but I would much rather go to a local, authentic Mexican restaurant in order
Right.
to get tacos.
But not if you're in Ramsey, New Jersey. It's Taco Bell or bust.
So, so in that event, then I'll work on trying to find something else. But
Oh
uh,
man, the
I just
bell is getting slammed.
yeah, unfortunately, I'm just not a fan of Taco Bell.
Fine.
But I'm not
I'm
judging
not
you
judging
because
you. I'm
you
not
are.
judging you either. I'm not judging you either.
Dream person to share a pour of tequila with.
Well, you of course. That was the easiest question so far, and we're doing it.
Salud.
Cheers, buddy.
Salud. One tequila myth that you wish people would stop believing.
It's funny. So for some reason, people don't think tequila is a depressant, and I hear it all the time. It drives me crazy. Like all other alcohols are depressants, but tequila is a stimulant. Well, guess there you go. It's just not true. You may feel different. Every human feels different. Like I myself definitely feel a different kind of intoxication from tequila versus beer versus gin and a couple other things, right? I mean, everything affects the body differently, but I can with 100% tell you that it is not a stimulant and that it is a depressant.
Okay.
Sorry, folks.
Um, yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Shucks.
What would you say one of the biggest gambles that El Bandido has taken early on that you're aware of, and how did it pay off?
I mean, without a doubt, it's racing. That it like we spoke about before. It's really been owned by beer and whiskey throughout the years, um, and entering a space where we're also not $20 tequila. We're $40 to $60 on the shelf, and you're pitching to a consumer that's buying 30 packs for $23.99. So there's definitely some concern that we can spend a lot of time, energy, and money talking to a consumer that's not all interested in El Bandido. But that has not been the case. I feel like the racing community has embraced us. The first thing I said when I got here was like, "Is this working?" And we dug into the numbers. I'm telling you, it's about 26% of our volume that you can tie directly back into these racing teams. And the racing teams are great. Like they go and they work. These guys are great. Like Flying Ryan's a great example. He rides one of our bikes. He is there to win races. He's not there to sell tequila, but he takes time to talk to the accounts. He'll call me and be like, "Hey, I'm trying to get a license to do this thing." I'm like, "Brother, you're racing at 200 miles an hour on a bike. Like, do you not have someone else to set up the tent?" It's really amazing how involved and again, sweat equity, how much they've put into this brand. And I absolutely love working with them. It's in our blood. it wasn't born from racing. It was born from hockey, really, and Jim Bob. But it is something that is definitely in our DNA now. And we just saw 818 has a racing car and a female driver. Well, we've already been doing that. So welcome to the show.
Well, and it's pretty amazing just to see, how much the racers, the drivers, they all buy into it and they all contribute to that aspect and, promoting the brand other than, doing what they're just supposed to do. That says a lot about a brand when everyone buys into it. Everyone, working there buys into it. They promote it. They say, hey, look, like, we know you like this brand, but try ours, and,
Yep.
and they just put so much blood, sweat, and tears into it that, that's what these stories are made about. And that's what makes tequilas great, is because there's just so much that goes behind each bottle.
It's relationships and it's word of mouth. What sells better than word of mouth? Really, I don't think there's anything. And as we build our family and the family extends, we're just going to get stronger. We're launching North Carolina. I hope I'm not putting this out into the world and jinxing myself, but it looks like June, but latest July. And we have a race team that's housed there when they're not doing races. And I get texts and emails and phone calls weekly, sometimes daily. There'll be a few days in a row, but weekly, where they just can't wait for it to launch. And they've been waiting for it to launch. So we're very excited about North Carolina and getting the racing team some El Bandido Yankee.
Nice. And so just kind of to finish up here, where can everyone find you on social media? Where can everyone find El Bandido Yankee on social media?
I'm probably the easiest find. Instagram, Maddie Slow, probably the only Maddie Slow. And on Facebook, Matt Slosek, probably one of the only ones of those as well. El Bandido, we have El Bandido Yankee website. We have El Bandido Yankee Racing website. And we have Instagrams for both as well, which if you put in El Bandido Yankee, it pops right up. I think I follow quite a few of the competitors because I like to know what's going on. I think our social media is done uh, probably better or as good as anybody else. Allie and her team does a great job. The videos are great, tells all about the brand, uh, and we're very active in accounts as well. If account's supporting us within legal limits, we support the account too. We'll throw people up there that are putting us on menus and doing events, and hope that it helps their attendance and their foot traffic.
Great. And again, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Matt, thank you so much
Pleasure.
for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate your time, and everyone, have a good night.
Thank you for having me.